Today we're going to be making Joshua Weissman's pumpkin pie.
But better.
Now how am I going to make this better? One simple way. I'm going to smoke the pies.
Smoking makes everything better.
Right, kids? This is a perfect time to utilize those pumpkins that you bought for Halloween that you would otherwise just be throwing out. I'm even utilizing the one from my son's class that he put a bunch of stickers on. Nothing goes to waste around here. I'll give you a quick rundown of all of the ingredients and then we're gonna do it step by step, pumpkin pie from scratch. I'm gonna take the pies, make a flat spot, and then I'm going to cut these in half, scoop out all the insides, and then I'm going to lightly oil them. Then I'm gonna put them in these aluminum trays that have holes in them so that smoke can come up through the bottom and wrap all the way around each one of these. I'm gonna be making 2 pies. I'm gonna give you the ingredients to make 1 pie. Then, if you need to make more than 1, you know what to do. You just multiply. Hopefully you can multiply. I'm really counting on that you can do math. Pie pumpkins are what you should be using. Don't be using the big ones because the meat to size ratio, this is optimal. The other stuff, not so optimal. These are better. There's a reason why they're called pie pumpkins. Now, with your sharpest knife that you have, try to hack away at the stem area. Creating a flat spot so that you can cut it in half. The inside of these you're going to want to scoop out with a spoon and either take the seeds and you can make seeds, pumpkin seeds, salt them, bake them, or discard it, whatever you want to do. Get all that extra flesh and seeds out of the center of this. Scoop it all out.
A few moments later.
From here, all you're going to do is lightly oil these and then turn them upside down onto these pans and then put them in the smoker at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for about 40 minutes or until very, very tender. So just take your oil, lightly coat all of these. Do you like to oil up your pumpkins? I do. Look at that. Yeah. Into the smoker they go at 400 degrees for about 40 minutes or until they're very tender and they probe very soft. Moving on to the pie crust. Since I'm making 2, I'm going to be doubling this, but what you need to know per pie is you're going to need 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 tablespoon of granulated sugar, 1 teaspoon of fine sea salt, and 1 cup of butter chopped up into little cubes. We're going to pulse it all up in the food processor. Then we're going to take and knead this by hand with some ice cold water. All-purpose flour, 1 more cup of all-purpose flour, 1 tablespoon granulated sugar, 1 teaspoon of salt. Now, just pulse this to mix everything up. Cut up your butter into small little cubes. When you throw it into the food processor, it's going to cut it up into small little pebbles, dispersing it all through the dough. You don't want the butter to melt while you're doing this, so the butter has to be refrigerator cold. Now, just break these up, put them into your flour, just like this here. Turn it on. Take the flour, pour it in a bowl, and now we're going to turn it into a dough. I got myself ice water, literally ice water. It needs to be as cold as possible. At first, I'm going to just use this fork to move it around, make sure no ice cubes get in there. Just a little bit. And then once it starts to come together and incorporated, then I'll move on to using my hands to form this into a nice little dough ball. I have here enough for 2 pie crusts. I'm gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna let it rest for at least 20 minutes, maybe a couple hours overnight. At this point, you're just trying to get all that hydration to work all the way through. You don't want the butter to melt, so you're gonna put it in the fridge. I'm gonna wrap it up. All the pumpkins have been pulled out of the smoker. As you can see, this lovely color on them. And what I'm gonna be doing is just taking a spoon, peeling back any of the skin, then we're gonna throw it into the food processor and blending it up into a nice puree. Just removing the skin, fairly simple. Not much involved here. Just get underneath of it. In Josh's video, he used an aluminum tray with aluminum foil on it. And then he placed these pumpkins face down. The pumpkin puree might have a little bit too much water. I'm hoping that by putting it on these perforated aluminum trays, putting it out in the smoker, then pureeing it and not trapping in any of that steam, that these should be dry enough to be a puree without having to run it through a sieve. Simple as that. Run your spoon, pull off whatever you can. Get have that skin off of there, because that's not gonna go in the puree. And you got yourself pumpkin that's ready to go inside of this blender, or inside of the food processor, and become a puree.
Later.
All right, since I have so much pumpkin here, I'm going to be doing this in batches. I'm gonna blend this one up, pour it out, and then continue on. All right, take that off to the side. Pour it in. Get yourself some pumpkin puree. All right, let's start with the pie crust. You can unwrap it. It's rested now. Like I said, I made enough for 2 here, so I'm gonna be cutting it in half and rolling out for 2 different pies. Now I'm gonna flour this, make a giant mess. I'm gonna cut this roughly into 2 equal sizes. I look like an extra from Scarface. Say hello to my little friend. You want to roll this out into a nice big round disc, about 1/4 inch thick. Make sure this doesn't stick to itself. So I am flouring my hands, kind of rubbing it over there, because what we're gonna do is fold it again, and then we're gonna rest it inside the pie dish. Hopefully I do this without tearing. All right, fold it. Fold it again. You got yourself a wedge. This is a 9-inch pie dish. You wanna line this up around center, lay it in there, unfold, unfold, and then gently, without tearing anything, tuck this in. Make sure not to stretch any of the corners or tear anything when you're doing this. And since this has a sharp edge, I got a nice little trick here. I'm just gonna run around the outside of this dish to cut off the excess. Cut off the excess. That's it. Nice and easy. No big deal. No big deal. These dishes are awesome. Non-stick.
Hey, that's pretty good.
Take a sheet of parchment. Lay it in there. Try not to mess up any of your sides like I'm doing currently. And pour in some rice to keep this bottom flat. This will help stop the crust from bubbling. And we're going to bake this. This is going to go in the smoker at about 400 degrees for 15 to 20 minutes. Alright, the pie crusts are done. They are cooling. I'm going to be making the pie filling right now, the custard, and I'm going to be making enough for 2. I'm going to put everything in the description down below for 1 pie at a time. Since I am doing 2, I need 30 ounces of the pumpkin puree. Smells smoky, smells great. Alright, so I have 2.5 cups of sweetened condensed milk that I totally 100% made myself. So thick. Look at how thick. Now if you're getting confused on what I'm doing, again, you can divide what I'm doing in half for 1 pie, or you can look in the description down below because that is going to be for 1 pie. Please don't mess this up.
Please.
Here I have 4 eggs, 2 egg yolks. I'm going to need 1 teaspoon of sea salt or kosher salt. I'm going to need 2 teaspoons of ground ginger. 1, 2. 3 teaspoons of cinnamon. 1, 2, 3. Half a teaspoon of ground nutmeg. Now give that some whiskey business. Get everything nice and incorporated. Everything is mixed around. Make sure all of those flavors come together. This smells like a pumpkin pie. All right, now I'm gonna take my pies. I'm gonna fill it up with my custard, tamp them down, and make sure all the air pockets come out of it. You don't wanna overflow it, but you also wanna account for the amount of water that's going to be evaporating out of this. That was an absolutely perfect amount. Holy crap. Now, to make sure that you don't have any air bubbles, give it a little tappy. Tap, tap, taparoo.
Tap it in. Just tap it in. Give it a little tappy. Tap, tap, taparoo.
Now, these are going to go into the smoker at 325 degrees for an hour to an hour and a half. All right, so the pie is done. All right, so the pie spent about an hour and a half inside my smoker. It was getting pretty late last night, so I covered it up and I put it in the fridge overnight. And here is the end result. First piece is always the hardest. There we go. This will be an absolutely spectacular dish for your Thanksgiving. Give it a try. Doing it in the smoker gives it a little extra flavor that you will be impressed with, and so will your guests. If you like this video, please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment down below. Check out my merch store at smokewarehouse.com, and I'll catch you guys next time.